Howdy everybody. So today's task is just some measurement stuff, and I've been giving it some thought over the last few days if I want to correct those distances that I measured a few days ago. I just remeasured the 400 track and the 1K loop, and both this time came out to be only 1.5 meters long, which I trust today's measurements more because there's not as many wet spots out there right now, so I was able to not watch where I was stepping as much as far as like going into mud and everything like that. So yeah, it's kind of a dilemma because I'm like, I do want it to be as close to accurate as I can, and it's never going to be perfect. It's cross country, but I want to be as close as I can. But at the same time, I've worked a lot on the footing and planting grass on the areas that it is right now, and I could squeeze it down a little bit, just a tad more, but I don't know. It's just not as simple as it seems. But I think for right now, I'm just gonna leave it as is. Maybe I will correct something in the future, but today I want to mark some areas where I'm going to have split points on each of the various loops. So basically among the 1K, 800, and then 600 loops, I want to mark each 200 meters on all of those because I'm working on getting some signage created for those. So yeah, I guess I want to kind of decide where my start and finish point is going to be and then go from there. So the most important thing for me to figure out here is where my start and finish point is going to be. And I need to think this through and get it right because I plan to only do it once because I want there to be a permanent structure marking the start and finish for every rep we do. And I mentioned this a long time ago, but I want to make a Tradition Farm arch, and that is going to be the start and finish point. So I'm thinking about practicality of where it is as well as aesthetics and kind of blending those two things together. So practicality is the most important thing, but it is going to be a pretty cool, trademark or landmark on the course or just the farm in general. So yeah, basically I'm trying to figure out, behind me I've got the starting straightaway on the grass track, and it's going to be somewhere along here. So there's pros and cons to having it further up or further back. So the further up it is, one of the cons is you have less straightaway before your first turn. There's not much at all, honestly, but you get more finishing straightaway if you're finishing a rep pretty fast. At the same time, placing it further up I think is a little better aesthetically. There's this kind of area where the tall grass starts on both sides, and I think that would be a great place to put it. Only concerning aesthetics, but I don't know, it's just not a ton of starting straightaway. And then if I place it further back, then you get more starting straightaway, but of course you have less finishing straightaway, and I don't think it would look as good back there. So yeah, that's kind of my dilemma here. Another thing I'm considering with the practicality of it is that because you're running through it, starting and finishing, if I place it further up where you have tall grass on both sides, typically when I have big groups working out and you're running through a kind of a finish chute, you finish your rep and you want to peel off to the left or the right, which you can't really do right now unless you run into tall grass, because you want to peel off, because if another group is getting started right behind you, you want to get out of their way. Now this could be fixed by just, if I place it further up where the grass is, the tall grass is, then I can just mow around sections just ahead of that, just to make room for that. So that's another consideration. So while I'm kind of talking through my thoughts right now, since I'd likely be mowing sections to the outside past the arch a little bit, then I probably don't need to worry as much about the aesthetics of having tall grass on both sides. So if I bring it back a little bit, maybe I could just get a happy medium, and the straightaways again are roughly like 80 meters long. So I think I'm gonna start with putting it just halfway on the straightaway. So you have 40 meters straight to start and 40 meters straight to finish. So I'm going to go with that and work off of my split points after that. And today, of course, is not the final decision on anything. It's not final until I actually start putting stuff in the ground. So yep, I'm gonna start with that. So I've already got a bunch of other flags out there, but they're more of a bright orange, so I'm going to use some dark red flags to mark all my split points to differentiate from the two. And so now that I have my start finish point picked out, as long as it stays there, I'm gonna walk around and wheel each loop again and mark every 200 meters with another red flag. So that is it for marking the 200 meter split points on the 1K loop, and I'm pretty happy with where all those ended up. You know, you can only control so much once you already have the loop made, but there would be a little bit of wiggle room with where, depending on where I put the start and finish point. So I knew where the general areas of those split points would be, but I didn't know exactly where they would end up. And one of my considerations with split points is, you know, ideally you don't want it to be in a spot where you have to watch your footing a little bit more than other places, because you don't want them, like, you don't want the athletes checking a split and worrying about their footing at the same time. So ideally, you know, if it's on a straightaway with no sketchy footing anywhere, then you don't have to worry about it. But you know, a couple of them are kind of on turns, but there's nothing like seriously, I guess, threatening to in the footing in those spots. But yeah, I like where they ended up. And another note is that of course I finished wheeling the whole thing again, and it came out to be like 1000.1, or not 1000.1, 1001.0 to 0.1. So only a meter long that time. So again, I'm not gonna try to drive myself too crazy with having it 100% perfect, because I will get a different measurement every single time I wheel it. But since after I've wheeled it 3 times and it's been anywhere from 1 to 2.5 meters long, I am confident that it's slightly long, but not long enough for me to want to readjust and try to make good footing in another spot where I close in the turn a little bit. So yeah, that's it for the 1K loop, and now I got to do the same thing for mainly the 800 meter loop. But the 600 loop is kind of just an extension of the 1K loop, where 2 of those points are already marked, and then I've just got to mark the 3rd point, because I'm going to combine those 1K and 600 loops quite often for 1600 reps. So yeah, gonna mark the rest of those and should be good to go. I guess another note is that I really don't have to mark all that many spots on the 800 meter loop, probably just one more out there, because the traditional way to do the 800 meter loop is going to be going reverse compared to the 1K loop. And the first 400 meters of the 800 meter loop is the exact same as the last 400 meters of the 1K loop. So those split points should line up. So I should just need to mark the 600 meter split point for the 800 meter loop, and that'll be it. So I'll still wheel the whole thing just to make sure things line up. I know they're going to, but I always just have to triple check, double check myself, and be confident in everything. And that's it for the 800 meter loop now. And so now I need to go to the other side of the land and mark out that last split point on the 600 meter loop, which I don't have to wheel that whole thing. The other day I got it at 599, gonna be close enough. So I'm gonna go to the 400 split on the 1K loop, and all I have to do is wheel up 200 meters from there, and that is going to be that extra split point on the 600 meter loop. And then on my way over there, I'm going to wheel the whole south edge, because I got a straightaway that's a little over 300 meters long, and I'm going to figure out where I want to start point to be on that, on the far corner on the low end of it, which is on the west end, because I'm going to flag out or make a split point for every 50 meters along the south end, because I feel like we'll use that a lot for like 150s, 200s, or 300s. And then, you know, if we do 150s, we can either have it to where it starts on the uphill, or it can be mostly flat, so you can kind of pick different start and finish points depending on how long you want the route to be. So yeah, I'm going to get exactly how long that whole stretch is, because there's a little bit of extra room at the start and finish for people to decelerate when they finish a rep, or crowd around before they start a rep. So I want to make sure I see how much room I have for that before I start marking all those points. Okay, so that's just a slight problem, barely under 308 meters. I thought it was going to be closer to like 315 or so, but that was probably closer to like pure edge to edge on the fence, and I didn't mow all the way up to the fence because it's just a little messy right next to the fence. But anyways, yeah, probably more important to have more deceleration area than starting space behind the first post. So I'll probably put that post there, maybe just 2 meters from the back edge, and then that'll leave about 6 meters of deceleration zone, which isn't much, not as much as I'd like, but it's not like they have to hang out behind the starting post the entire time before they start a rep. So there's areas out here where they can hang out close, and then when they get close to starting a rep, they can just walk down there and go. So yeah, that's probably what I'll go with. Another thought, as I'm thinking things through, technically they don't need to use the whole straightaway for this, because the very end of each straightaway I've got a turn that kind of bends into the perimeter a little bit. Now at the starting stretch on the west end, I'm not really too fond of this area. Over here it's not great footing, still needs some work over here with just water pooling up and whatnot. So it's just kind of a low spot, so hard to keep it really good footing. But then at the top end, it's just the east end of the track, which isn't amazing up there as well. But if I feel like I needed a little bit more space, then I can just have them finish into the turn a little bit. And then of course you got all the room in the world to decelerate. So yeah, I'm gonna give that a little bit more thought as I go mark out this last point on the 600 meter loop. So that is the 600 meter loop totally marked and measured, and now I'm in the back corner at the start point of my 300 meter straight, kind of contemplating what I want to do about this. So yeah, as I mentioned, it's 308 meters long from end to end on where I've mowed, so it's not a lot of extra space. So with only I want more deceleration zone than starting area, but still need to have some starting area. So if I were to mark that start point 2 meters up from the edge, it's not much starting zone, but that only gives 6 meter of deceleration zone. So basically I kind of wheeled around the turn instead of the straightaway here in the corner to figure out where would an equal start point be compared to if I were to start 2 meters from that edge, that starting edge. And then that point over there where the wheel is right now, basically that would give me the same amount of deceleration zone at the finish point, 6 meters. Well, I want more than that, so I'd need to move the wheel back further, or the start point back further. And when you start moving back further from where the wheel is, that's where it gets into the messier area. And I'm not sure how easy, I mean, I know it's not as easy to take care of that area. So I don't know what to do. I think I'm going to just flag out the all on the straightaway and just see what it looks like from a visual standpoint. Again, I still don't have to totally decide on that right now, but I would have to, I do want to get that figured out soon because I do want to be marking this soon. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it out and see if I think of anything else while I'm doing it. So I'm really not a fan of how this looks after measuring it out and looking at it. 6 meters is just not enough space to decelerate when you're doing faster reps, which is what we'd typically be doing. Now, the only time we would technically need to finish up here is if we were doing 300 reps, which I do like to do. But if we're doing 200s, we could just start at 50 and finish at 250. So here's what I ended up deciding on. So I've got this whole 300 meter straightaway, 308 meter straightaway. And for the start and finish points, I split the difference and put 4 meters of extra space at each end. Now, when we do 300s, I just kind of decided it would probably be best to finish on the turn up top. And so I've got 2 different points marking the finish on the straightaway and the finish on the turn. Now I probably won't finish on the straightaway, but I was thinking there might be a reason to do some reps back and forth, whether it's 200s or 150s or whatever. So I decided to mark like what would be a start point here on the straightaway as well. So got it all flagged out for now. I'm just gonna think on it for a few more nights before I pull the trigger on ordering, getting some signage made. So yeah, that's what I've got for now. So I think I'm going to call that it for the day, and I'm just going to go back to thinking and planning and hunting down materials or good deals for the summer projects I want to get done.